Thank you for coming. I know you're living in London at the moment, and
Yes.
you've been studying in Bethel.
I have, yeah.
And you've got a passion for Christ in us everywhere, including at work.
Yes.
So can you just tell people clicking in, where is it that you've worked?
Well, my background's in the corporate world, so I worked at Deloitte, which is one of the major accountancy firms, and I worked in HR there. And then I set up a career in counselling business, and more recently I was the operations director of a Christian charity.
Okay. And so you would have had some issues that came up where you would have had to put your faith into action. Are there any that spring to mind of any of those scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, in the more recent job, we came across, we basically had an issue, a disciplinary issue actually, and I'd worked in the corporate world where essentially if there was ever a problem like that, we would just throw money at someone and they would be exited from the business. But when I worked in my most recent charity, we actually chose to honour the person and to really go through the process in a fair way. And it was a really phenomenal, for me it was an incredible experience of seeing God work in the process and honouring the person, but at the same time they had to take responsibility for the mess that they'd made. And so it was, for me it was like seeing love in action. And even though the person wasn't able to stay in the organisation, even by the end of the process they knew that they'd been loved through it.
And they perhaps knew why the process had happened.
Exactly.
And then hopefully it wouldn't repeat itself elsewhere.
Yeah.
So
and they ended up with, with a good package, but at least they understood it. Yeah. So it was good to see love in action.
So is there any little snippet of anything that you would like to say as an encouragement to people at work? Because I know it's something that you think about.
Yeah, I would say the thing which I've really learnt the most from being around people who are living their faith in the Christian workplace, which I feel very passionate about, is that firstly that we often think that we have to sacrifice family for our work, and I've actually come across more and more people who are actually putting their family first, and I'm seeing I've got stories of people who are blessed by God when they do that.
Can
I give you an example?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a chap called Mike Frank, and he does actually have a book out called Prosperity with Purpose. And he was working in as a he'd been offered a job as vice president at Disney, which is a really huge organisation. He'd been working his way up the career ladder, and he was offered this amazing job, and at the same time he was pursuing God. And he went to a conference, and he felt like God said to him, "What are your wife's dreams?" And he went home and he was like, "Oh gosh, I don't know whether I even want to know what my wife's dreams are in case I have to follow through." But he did ask her, and she said that she wanted to move to Omaha and have more children. And at this point they're in their mid-30s. So he actually decided to honour his wife and put her dreams above his. And he left his job at Disney, and everyone scoffed and mocked him. And they moved to Omaha, they had another child, and when they got there, God set him up with a group of people. They created a business which was very key in the transition of dial-up internet to broadband. And a few years later, God kind of told them when to sell their business, and they sold it for $14 billion. Having had a really a massive effect on, the whole internet world. So I
Steve,
love that story.
I honestly didn't set this up.
Thank you, Marianne, for coming.